improvised lines that became iconic to genuine reactions that made it to the big screen, these moments capture the magic of cinema at its most authentic. Ever wonder if that shocked expression was acting or real surprise? Or if that perfect comedic timing was planned or pure chance? Get ready to peek behind the curtain and discover the happy accidents, quick thinking, and raw emotions. Pretty Woman. The jewelry box scene in Pretty Woman is unforgettable.
I don't want you to get too excited. It's only on loan.
But it wasn't supposed to happen. Julia Roberts was feeling a little tired on set, so director Gary Marshall decided to lighten the mood. He whispered a cheeky idea to Richard Gere. Snap the box shut when she reaches for the necklace. When Gere did it, Roberts let out a genuine laugh, pulling her hand back in surprise. That moment wasn't planned. It was real, and it was perfect. The crew loved it so much they decided to keep it in the film. What's even more surprising? The necklace she reached for was worth $250,000 and had an armed guard watching it the entire time. Home Alone. In Home Alone, Joe Pesci plays a bumbling burglar, but during rehearsals, he got a little too into character.
Every one of these little fingers, one at a time.
While practicing the scene where he threatens to bite Kevin's fingers, Pesci accidentally bit Macaulay Culkin's finger hard enough to break the skin. Culkin, who was just 9 years old, was understandably upset. He even joked, "I don't care how many Oscars you have, you're biting a kid." The bite left a scar on Culkin's finger, a permanent memento of the film that made him a star. This small behind-the-scenes mishap adds a surprising edge to the holiday favorite. Who knew Home Alone left more than just a mark on our hearts? The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Steve Carell's chest-waxing scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin is hilarious to watch.
So ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, you!
But was a nightmare to film. Carell, committed to authenticity, insisted on actually waxing his chest for the scene. The actress doing the waxing claimed she knew what she was doing, but she didn't. She forgot to apply Vaseline to protect Carell's skin, and things went downhill fast. When the wax strips were ripped off, Carell's screams were 100% real. Blood even appeared, making the moment as painful as it looked. His spontaneous cry of "Kelly Clarkson" was improvised and became an instant classic. The scene was so intense, it could only be filmed in one take. Carell endured the pain, and the result was comedy gold. The Wolf of Wall Street. In The Wolf of Wall Street, there's a shocking scene where a woman gets her head shaved during a wild office party.
FYI, boys, Danielle has promised you.
What makes it even crazier is that it wasn't done by a professional hairstylist, but by actor P.J. Byrne, fully in character as a chaotic co-worker. The woman, Natasha Newman Thomas, wasn't just any actress. She was the sister of one of Leonardo DiCaprio's friends. Thomas agreed to have her actual hair shaved off on camera for the sake of authenticity. The production even hired a backup actress in case she changed her mind, but she went through with it. Director Martin Scorsese chose to watch the scene from a monitor, staying out of the way to avoid adding pressure to the already intense moment. Her bold decision added a raw, shocking energy to the scene, perfectly capturing the wild and excessive world of Jordan Belfort. Django Unchained. Sometimes accidents make for incredible movie moments, and that's exactly what happened in Django Unchained.
In the same place as old Ben.
Hey! Lay your palm flat on that tabletop!
In one unforgettable scene, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Calvin Candy, angrily slams his hand on a table. What wasn't planned? DiCaprio accidentally shattered a glass, cutting his hand for real. Blood started dripping everywhere, but DiCaprio stayed completely in character. The crew cleaned up the real blood between takes and replaced it with fake blood for continuity. Then, in a move that shocked everyone on set, DiCaprio smeared the fake blood onto Kerry Washington's face during the scene. The cast and crew were stunned, but the moment was so powerful they gave him a standing ovation once filming wrapped. DiCaprio later admitted he was more curious about Quentin Tarantino and Jamie Foxx's reactions than worrying about his injured hand. The result? A gritty, intense scene that became one of the film's most talked about moments. The Godfather. The opening scene of The Godfather is one of the most iconic in film history, showing Marlon Brando as Don Vito Corleone petting a cat while discussing business.
Time you ever came to me for counsel, for help. I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee.
But the cat wasn't in the script. It was a stray wandering around the studio lot that director Francis Ford Coppola spontaneously decided to add. Brando, who loved animals, naturally worked the cat into his performance. As he stroked it, the contrast between the gentle gesture and his intimidating dialogue created an unforgettable image. However, the cat's purring caused unexpected problems. It was so loud it almost drowned out Brando's lines, making the sound team's job a nightmare. Despite this, the unscripted edition added depth to Corleone's character, showing a softer side to the powerful mob boss. The moment became an instant classic, all thanks to a random cat strolling onto set. Friends. In Friends, one of the funniest moments came from pure improvisation. In the episode The One with Joey's New Brain, Ross, David Schwimmer, tries to play the bagpipes. Terribly, of course. As the group listens in horror, Lisa Kudrow, Phoebe, decided to make the scene even funnier by screeching along to the noise. It was completely unscripted and caught everyone off guard. Jennifer Aniston, Rachel, couldn't hold it together and broke character, laughing so hard it ruined several takes. The cast kept cracking up, making it nearly impossible to finish the scene. Despite the chaos, the moment made it into the final episode and became one of the show's most loved comedic highlights. Years later, Kudrow called it her favorite Friends scene because of how genuine everyone's reactions were. Fight Club. In Fight Club, there's a scene where Edward Norton's character punches Brad Pitt's character during their first fight.
Mother. You hit me in the ear.
Well, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Ow!
What's wild is that this wasn't acting, it was real. Director David Fincher told Norton to actually hit Pitt to make the scene feel more authentic. Norton went for it, but accidentally punched Pitt in the ear. Pitt's reaction, ow. Why the ear? Was completely real, not scripted at all. That unscripted punch added an extra layer of raw energy to the scene and perfectly captured the chaotic vibe of the movie. The Princess Bride. In The Princess Bride, Cary Elwes, Westley, wanted his fight scenes to look as real as possible. During one scene, Christopher Guest's character was supposed to knock Westley out by hitting him with the hilt of a sword.
What is it? You have 6 fingers on your right hand. Someone was looking for you.
Elwes suggested Guest hit him for real. Guest agreed, but things didn't go as planned. He hit Elwes much harder than he intended. Elwes was knocked unconscious and woke up in the hospital. Later, He joked about it in his book, saying it was the last thing he remembered before blacking out. That accidental hit ended up making the scene look incredibly real on screen. Die Hard. In Die Hard, Alan Rickman's famous fall as Hans Gruber is one of the most iconic moments in action movie history. But the fear on Rickman's face wasn't acting, it was real. Rickman had agreed to do the 25-foot fall himself. Trusting the crew to drop him on the count of 3. However, the stunt team decided to surprise him for a more authentic reaction. They let him go on 1 instead of 3, catching him completely off guard. Rickman's shocked expression as he falls is 100% genuine, and the scene became one of the most unforgettable moments in the film. The Shining. Jack Nicholson's terrifying "Here's Johnny" scene in The Shining was never in the script.
Here's Johnny!
As Nicholson hacked through a door with an axe, he suddenly shouted the phrase, referencing The Tonight Show's famous Johnny Carson intro. Director Stanley Kubrick, who wasn't familiar with the reference, loved how it sounded and decided to keep it in the final cut. What's even more incredible is that Nicholson smashed through 60 doors over 3 days to get the scene just right. That improvised line became one of the most famous quotes in film history, thanks to Nicholson's wild energy and Kubrick's willingness to embrace the unexpected. Saving Private Ryan. The opening scene of Saving Private Ryan is famous for being incredibly realistic and intense.
We're in business! Definitely! Other side of the hole!
To film the D-Day invasion, director Steven Spielberg wanted everything to feel as real as possible. The scene was shot on a beach in Ireland with over 2,500 extras, many of whom were actual soldiers. Explosions, gunfire, and chaos were everywhere, and Spielberg didn't warn the actors about what would happen. The cast had to react in the moment, and their fear and confusion were completely real. Spielberg used handheld cameras to make the audience feel like they were right there on the battlefield. Some actors even said they felt traumatized by how real it all seemed. The result? A scene so powerful that many veterans said it was the closest they'd seen to the actual horrors of war. Rocky IV. Sylvester Stallone's Rocky IV gave us one of the most intense boxing scenes in movie history, but it nearly cost him his life. During filming, Stallone wanted everything to look authentic. So he told Dolph Lundgren, who played the towering Ivan Drago, to punch him for real. Lundgren didn't hold back and hit Stallone square in the chest with all his strength. The punch was so hard that Stallone's heart swelled up, and he ended up in the hospital's intensive care unit for 9 days. Doctors said it was like he had been in a serious car crash. Despite the injury, Stallone admired Lundgren's strength, and they stayed friends. That one punch made the fight scenes look real, but it also proved just how far Stallone would go for his art. The Exorcist. Filming The Exorcist wasn't just scary on screen, it was terrifying behind the scenes too. In one scene,
Lick me! Lick me!
Ellen Burstyn's character is thrown across the room by her possessed daughter. To make it look real, Burstyn was strapped to a harness and pulled backward by a crew member. But the pull was way too strong, and she slammed onto the floor, injuring her back. The scream she let out wasn't acting. It was real pain. That scream was so intense, the director decided to keep it in the movie. Burstyn's injury left her with back problems for the rest of her life, and this moment became one of many stories that gave The Exorcist its reputation as a cursed film. But Burstyn's dedication made her performance unforgettable. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The terror you see in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre wasn't always acting. Alan Danziger, who played Jerry, had never seen Leatherface before filming his death scene. To make his reaction as real as possible, the filmmakers blindfolded him before bringing him to the set. When they took off the blindfold, Danziger saw a horrifying sight. His co-star hanging on a meat hook, a shaking freezer, and Leatherface standing right in front of him. His scream was completely real, and he was so scared he tried to run away. The director had to keep yelling, "Cut!" because Danziger kept running out of the shot. They finally got the scene, and his genuine fear helped make the movie even scarier. Monty Python's Life of Brian. The famous Biggest Dickus scene in Monty Python's Life of Brian is pure comedic gold, thanks to a clever trick. The extras playing Roman soldiers were given just one rule: don't laugh, no matter what happened. They weren't told why, so when the ridiculous dialogue began, they were caught completely off guard. The actors playing Pontius Pilate and Biggest Dickus delivered their lines with over-the-top seriousness, trying their hardest to make the soldiers lose it. The soldiers' twitching faces, muffled giggles, and awkward stares were real. They were trying so hard not to crack up that it made the scene even funnier. This little behind-the-scenes prank turned into one of the most hilarious moments in the movie. The Chronicles of Narnia. The Chronicles of Narnia. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe captured some of the most magical reactions ever. And here's why. They were real. Georgie Henley, who played Lucy, had no idea what the Narnia set looked like. She was blindfolded and carried onto the snowy scene. When the blindfold came off, her wide-eyed wonder as she saw the magical world was completely authentic. Her first meeting with James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus was just as genuine. She hadn't seen him in his fawn costume before filming, so her reaction mixed with curiosity and a bit of fear. McAvoy later said her expression was so real, it felt like she truly believed in Narnia. These natural moments made Lucy's discovery feel like it was happening in real time, pulling audiences right into the magic with her. Elf. Buddy the Elf's hilarious Jack-in-the-Box scene in Elf was full of surprises. Literally. Will Ferrell's job in the scene was to test the toys, but he didn't know when they would pop open. Director Jon Favreau secretly controlled the toys with a remote, triggering them at random times to keep Ferrell on edge. Each time a Jack-in-the-Box sprang open, Ferrell's startled jumps, wide-eyed stares, and laughter were completely real. This unexpected trick made the scene feel fresh and authentic, perfectly capturing Buddy's innocent and childlike charm. It's a moment that added to the heartwarming fun of the holiday classic, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Sometimes, pain creates movie magic. In The Two Towers, Viggo Mortensen's powerful scream in the scene where Aragorn kicks a helmet was shockingly real. During filming, Mortensen kicked the helmet with such force that he broke 2 toes. Instead of stopping, he stayed in character, channeling the pain into Aragorn's emotional outburst. Director Peter Jackson thought it was perfect and decided to use that take in the final cut. Mortensen's genuine agony gave the moment a raw intensity, making Aragorn's grief feel incredibly real. It's a detail that makes the scene unforgettable for fans of the epic trilogy. The Princess Diaries. Sometimes, accidents create magic on set, and that's exactly what happened in The Princess Diaries. In one memorable scene, Anne Hathaway's character, Mia, is walking on wet bleachers with her friend Lily. Then it happened. Hathaway slipped and fell, completely unplanned. The crew froze, but Hathaway burst out laughing and stayed in character. Director Gary Marshall saw the footage and loved it. Her stumble felt so real and relatable that he kept it in the final cut. It wasn't just a funny accident, it became a moment that perfectly captured Mia's clumsy charm, endearing her even more to audiences. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. The Rocky Horror Picture Show thrives on shock and surprise, and the dinner scene delivered both, with a twist the cast didn't see coming. When Dr. Frankenfurter pulls off the tablecloth to reveal Eddie's corpse hidden underneath, the cast's horrified reactions were completely real. Director Jim Sharman only told a few actors about the reveal. The rest, including Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon, had no idea what was coming. Their genuine shock gave the scene a raw intensity that heightened its horror. This sneaky tactic by Sharman added authenticity to one of the film's most unforgettable moments. Good Will Hunting. Robin Williams's improvisation brought countless memorable moments to his films, but one scene in Good Will Hunting stands out. During a heartfelt therapy session, Williams's character, Sean, tells a hilariously unexpected story about his late wife farting in her sleep. This story wasn't in the script. It was pure Robin Williams. Matt Damon, who played Will, couldn't hold back his laughter. His genuine, unscripted reaction made the scene even more touching and human. If you watch closely, you can even see the camera shake slightly because the crew couldn't stop laughing either. Williams's ability to mix humor with heart made this scene a fan favorite. 7. Seven is known for its chilling suspense, but one scene pushed even the cast into real fear. In the grim apartment of the sloth victim, John C. McGinley's SWAT leader leans in, expecting to find a lifeless body. Then, out of nowhere, the victim moves. What you see on screen, McGinley jumping back in terror, wasn't acting. Director David Fincher kept the detail a secret, letting actor Michael Reed McKay surprise the cast with his sudden movement. This genuine moment of shock added to the scene's horror, making it one of the most spine-tingling moments in the movie. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory wasn't just in the story, it was in the actors' genuine reactions. Director Mel Stewart kept the elaborate chocolate room weren't acting. It was pure, authentic surprise. This decision brought a special kind of realism to the scene. It was real to them. Midnight Cowboy. One of the most famous moments in Midnight Cowboy wasn't even scripted. Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight were shooting a scene on a real New York City street, trying to time their walk with the traffic lights. Suddenly, a taxi came out of nowhere, nearly hitting Hoffman. Without missing a beat, Hoffman slammed his hand on the hood and shouted the now iconic line, "I'm walking here." He stayed in character as Ratso Rizzo, turning what could have been a ruined shot into movie history. That raw, unplanned moment perfectly captured the chaos of New York City and added a touch of gritty realism that defined the film. A history of violence. Tension and spontaneity made a history of violence unforgettable. During a pivotal diner robbery scene, the actors improvised a chilling moment that wasn't in the script. While details about the exact improvisation are unclear, director David Cronenberg's style likely encouraged this creative freedom. Cronenberg rarely rehearsed or storyboarded scenes, allowing the cast to explore and react naturally. This approach brought raw intensity to the performances, making the violence and suspense feel disturbingly real. It's this kind of unpredictability that keeps audiences on edge and makes the film so gripping. Scarface. Even a violent classic like Scarface has its playful moments. In one scene, Tony Montana, Al Pacino, and Elvira Hancock, Michelle Pfeiffer, are sitting in a Cadillac having a conversation. As Pfeiffer looks away, Pacino, staying in character, grabs her hat and puts it on. Pfeiffer's surprised laugh and ad-libbed response were completely unscripted. Director Brian De Palma loved the moment so much that he kept it in the film. This spontaneous exchange added a touch of humor and showed Elvira slowly warming up to Tony, adding depth to their dynamic. Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson brought unexpected fire to Pulp Fiction with a split-second improvisation that made a legendary scene even more gripping. During the tense standoff where Jules Winfield interrogates Brett and his friends, Jackson decided to flip the table mid-dialogue. This wasn't planned. Frank Whaley, playing Brett, had no idea it was coming. His shock, wide eyes, and stammered lines was completely real. The moment added raw intensity, making Jules' threatening demeanor even more chilling. It wasn't just a table flip, it was a perfect snapshot of Jules' unpredictable power, adding a layer of tension that stayed with audiences long after the credits rolled. A Christmas Story. The hilarity of A Christmas Story's Chinese restaurant scene owes much to an unscripted surprise. After the Parker family's Christmas dinner disaster, they end up at a Chinese restaurant for their holiday meal. When the staff presents a roast duck with its head still attached, actress Melinda Dillon, playing the mother, had no idea what was coming. Her startled yell and awkward laugh were completely genuine. The director had given Dillon a different script to ensure her reaction was natural. That moment of real surprise and laughter turned what could have been a simple gag into a memorable scene, adding charm to a holiday classic that families still cherish today. Casino. In Casino, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci turned everyday conversations into riveting drama through improvisation. Director Martin Scorsese trusted their instincts, allowing them to go off script in many scenes. One standout moment was when De Niro's character, Ace Rothstein, berates a casino employee for his incompetence. De Niro's sharp insults weren't rehearsed. They were made up on the spot. The natural flow of his words and the stunned reactions of the other actors made the scene feel incredibly real. This improvisational approach didn't just create memorable dialogue, it brought authenticity to the film, immersing viewers in the volatile world of Las Vegas' underbelly. It's proof that sometimes the best moments happen when actors are free to unleash their creativity.